All right. 1 Timothy chapter 3. I want to read from verse 14 and 15. And then I will share something about growth. 1 Timothy 3, 14. These things write I unto thee, hoping to come unto you shortly. But if I tarry long, that thou mayest know how thou oughtest to behave thyself in the house of God, which is the church of the living God, the pillar and ground of the truth. In other words, Paul is saying, I'm coming. But in case I do not come on time, I want to give you some guidelines as to how you ought to behave yourself in the church of the living God, which is the pillar and the ground of the truth. Look at your neighbor and say, how are you behaving yourself? All right. Behavior in the church is different, and you need to learn it. It's not something that is automatic. Because someone gets born again, we always assume that they know what to do in the house of God, or because someone has been in church for so long, we assume they know exactly what is right and proper. But we want to share on that tonight. I will be speaking to you very briefly, and the topic will be how you can help the church grow. How you can help this church grow. How can I help this church to grow as this church should grow? We've talked about personal growth. We've talked about growth in general. But in what way and manner can I carry and conduct myself that I can help this church, as it were, grow? Let us pray. Father God, we want to thank you for your loving kindness and tender mercies. Thank you for the church, which is the pillar and the ground of the truth. And thank you for making us partakers of what it takes to build this church in the way and form and fashion that you have always intended, according to that pattern which you have showed us from the very beginning, according to Exodus 25:9, Exodus 25:40, Exodus 26:30, Exodus 27:8. We want to thank you for guiding and leading us tonight and giving us a clear insight as to what our responsibilities are and duties towards building this church. Thank you for the privilege that we enjoy as members of this church. But above every other thing, we are talking about what our responsibilities ought to be. And we give you glory and praise as you point this out to us, to the glory and honor of your name. In Jesus' name we have prayed. Amen. One of the fundamental things that every child of God should know is that when you read the Bible from Genesis to Revelation, one outstanding thing that you'll always see is that God have always had a house. God have always had a house. In the book of Genesis, the house of God was the Garden of Eden. In the days of Noah, the house of God was Noah's Ark. In the days when the children of Israel traveled in the wilderness, the house of God was the tabernacle of witness. And even when they came to the promised land, God set out a place where they could always resort and meet him. And as far as the Bible tells us, that was a place that can be referred to as the house of God. You find this in Deuteronomy 12:5, Deuteronomy 14:23, Deuteronomy 15:20, Deuteronomy 16:2. God set a place and said, look, this is the place where I want you to meet me on. Eventually, when the children of Israel, by reason of their relationship with God, matured, David wanted to build a house for God. That was going to be a common place where everybody was going to be required, expected, and commanded to come to. But God said, no, David, I want your son Solomon to do it. And Solomon was given the responsibility and duty to build a temple like you and I will remember. And according to 1 Kings chapter 8, verse 29, after the temple had been built, you can hear the prayer that Solomon prayed concerning that place where God's presence, as it were, through the Ark of the Covenant was visible. And after the house was completed, the glory of God came and abode in the house. Later on in the days of Ezra, you know how the temple was repaired and so on and so forth. So God have always had a house. When you and I gave our life to Christ, our body became his house. Know ye not that the body of our body is the temple of the Holy Spirit that we have of God? According to 1 Corinthians chapter 6, verse 20. And it said we should glorify our God, and we should make sure we take care of our body, because our body is God's temple. But you see, under the New Testament that you and I are, in the days of this dispensation, the place of worship, like this building, is where we refer to as the house of God. When we are coming from our various homes, our attitude and body language is, we are going to the house of God. Psalm 122 verse 1. He said, I was glad when they said to me, let us go to the house of God. Now, God have always had a house. And like your own house, it's important to you. Just like God's house is important to God. So as members of this church, as far as we are concerned, this is God's house for us. Now, I want to say a few things about the house of God. A few things about the house of God. About 7 different things. Number 1, the house of God is where his people meet. Anywhere we meet, around the name of Jesus, anywhere we meet for fellowship, anywhere we consecrate to be a place where we come together to mingle our voice in praise, in prayer, and worship, and adoration to his name, that is the house of God. So the house of God is where his people meet. Number 2, the house of God is where he meets his people. Okay, this is where he meets us. He said, we have 2 or 3 are gathered together in my name, they are mine. So the house of God is a place where he meets us specially. He meets us at home. He meets us in other places. But when it comes to collective worship, the house of God is where he meets his people. Number 3, the house of God is where he inhabits, where his presence is. In the wilderness, that was where his presence was. In the days of Noah, that was where his presence was. For 150 days of Noah's flood, his presence was in that ark. Every other thing died, apart from those things that were there in his presence. In his presence is fullness of joy, and at his right hand pleasures forevermore. So the house of God is very important. It's the place where his people meet. It's the place where he meets his people. It's the place where he inhabits. His presence is there. His presence is there. I've had testimonies of people who probably come to church, and after the man of God has finished preaching, they come and stand just behind the pulpit where he ministers and have received healing. I'm not asking you to do that. They have received deliverance. They have received various kind of answers to various prayers. So the house of God is where he inhabits. Number 4, the house of God is where he works on his people. God works on us. Every message that you hear in this place is God at work. Philippians 1:6. He said, I'm confident of this very thing, that he who has begun a good work in you, he shall perfect it until the day of Jesus Christ. So the house of God is where God works on his people. Not just where he works for them, not just where he works through them, but where he works on them. One woman came to me, he said, every time you preach, you are talking about me. I said, that's why you come here. You are coming here to be repaired. This is the mechanic workshop. This is the spiritual hospital where we are worked on. Divine operation through the ministry of the word is carried out on our character, on our mouth, on our desires, on our motives, on our relationship, on our finances. So the acts of God is where he works on his people. Number 5, the acts of God is a place of reference to him. Let's imagine someone come to this area and he says, please, can you point a place to me where I can find God? Oh, they say, okay, go to that church there. HOTR, House on the Rock. Go there. So the house of God is a place of reference. This is your spiritual address. Whether you know it or not. This is your spiritual address. You have a physical address. You have a work address. But this is your spiritual address. If you want to get married, for example, to anyone, probably in Michigan or probably in some other parts of the United States, and they ask him, what church does he attend? This is your address. So this place is a hallowed ground. It's important. It's strategic. It's more than just a building. It's a house. It's more than a building. It's a house where God inhabits. It's your spiritual address. Number 6, the house of God is where he meets our need, of course. Philippians 4:19, my God supply your need. And that's why you come to church. Your needs are such that they are mighty, but you don't know what to do. You don't know how to go about it. Here, your needs are met. There are some of you, your marital needs were met here. You have prayed, believed God for a life partner. It was when you got here that God opened your eyes. You met someone. You saw someone. Some of us probably have been battling some sicknesses, some disease, some infirmities, some causes, some issues. Here, your needs were met. The house of God is the place where people's needs are met. That is the number 6 reason, the number 6 issue I want to tell you about the house of God. Let me give you now the 7th one. The house of God is the place from where his people reach out. There have been other parishes that have been established through this house. There have been other lives that have been affected in continents, in cities, in nations. Out of this place, they were affected through this house. So the house of God is where, or the place from where his people reach out. There are other parishes that have been brought out of this place. Before I came here, I was in Midland, Texas, and I saw one of the parishes that you reach out from this house to establish. So I'm challenged and inspired about the house of God. The house of God is very important to God. Just as important as your own house is. Imagine all the uses your house serves you. It is the place where you raise your children. The house of God here is where children are made men. The house of God here is where people are taught how to live life, how to be married, how to remain married, how to order their lives. The house of God is strategic to God, just like our own houses are. So crucial is the house of God. But you need to understand that the house of God is not just a place of privileges, where you receive, where you get, where you eat, where you swallow. The house of God is also a place that you have responsibilities towards. People come to the house of God to receive, but you need to understand you have obligations, responsibility, and duties also towards the house of God. Till today, you may never have looked at it the way I'm looking at it, but it's an important thing. We always think about what to get, not what to give. I want to lay on your shoulder tonight a responsibility that you should stop denying. A responsibility that you should begin to take very seriously, even if you have never taken it seriously. And that is what your contribution should be to ensuring that the house of God grows. Today, many of your needs have been met by this house because it has grown. But many more needs will be met if this house can grow like it should grow. There are 6 directions this house needs to grow in. 6 directions. I mentioned them yesterday as per the life of an individual. But I want to run through the 6 directions this house can grow in. Number 1, this house needs to grow upward. What does that mean? When you say house on the rock should grow upward, we should become the vision that God had in mind when he commissioned this church. I remember the first time Pastor Kuya was going to come here to commission the church. I didn't know that Grand Prairie existed in America. I'm only familiar with Grand Prairie in Canada, the prairies of Canada. So I asked him, I said, "You're here?" He said, "Yes." He said, "He's here to start a church." And I said, "Wow." I said, "Where is that?" He said, "Grand Prairie." So God gave him a blueprint. God gave him an idea of what this house should look like. And where there is no vision, the people perish. Everything he has done over the years is to make sure this house grow up and look like the vision God gave him. But it doesn't take him alone to get it done. Number 2, this house must not just grow up, it must also grow down. It must be established. A few years before now, you are moving from hotel to one place, to another place, to another place. This house must get to the final abode. that God had in mind for it. The final abode. So this house must grow down. You must get to a place where you're no longer living in tent and tabernacles. A place where you say, Jehovah, you have been great. You have been great. This is the final place. Our church in Nigeria moved. We moved. We are moving. But we got to a place, we said, yes, this is the final place. So the house of God must grow down. Ephesians 3:17 says, rooted and grounded. Colossians 2:7 says, rooted and built up. This is not the building where we are going. It looks good and better than the buildings where we were before. But Hebrews 13:14 says, for here have we no continuing city. I met a pastor recently, and we're just talking about how many times they have moved. And then he told me, he said, we have one more move left, and that's going to be the final move. And I said, wow, what a beautiful thing. So the house must grow down. You must have a place that we can call the place where we are going. Number 3, the house of God does not just grow up, does not just grow down, but grow internally. Those of us who are within the house, we need to grow. We need to grow spiritually, financially, in our relationship with one another and with the house of God. And that's what I'm talking about today. We need to grow internally. A church is not just growing because the numbers are increasing. There are increasing quality. I went to a brother's church, 104 people, and 95 of them were women. I told him, I said, this church needs to grow. He said, yes, we need to grow men. We need to grow men. You know, I've been to so many churches, and I've seen so many churches that need to grow within. The growth is within. Do we have enough accountants? Do we have enough bankers? Do we have enough contractors? Do we have enough dentists? Do we have enough people from other nations of the world? We need to grow internally. So growth has so many ramifications. And we should not just limit it to one and forget about the others. We need to grow up as a church. Become the church in God's dream. Before I formed you, I knew you. Before I brought you forth, there was a church God ordained us to be. Are we that church? How do we look like? Do we resemble the vision that God had in mind when He conceived this church? And then we need to grow down, and then we need to grow inside. Then number 4, we need to grow outside. Outside. We must have more impact on the Grand Prairie community. We must have greater impact. That's why we talk about greater glory. We must not just stop where we are. We've made some progress. We've had impact as much as we can, but we are not there yet. We need to grow outwardly. Our name must be a name to be reckoned with in many more places than where it is presently being reckoned with. We need to grow outwardly. Our influence must spread. The Bible talking about Joshua 6:27. It says, and Joshua's fame spread abroad. That is impact. Our presence must be felt in medicine, in law, in accounting, in the business world, in sports. In this neighborhood, we need to grow outwardly. Recently, one of our churches in the area there where they are, they won a soccer competition. For the first time, the name of a church is being mentioned as receiving a trophy of a soccer competition. It was not just Bible or speaking in tongues or fasting or praying. Growing outwardly. Number 5, we also need to outgrow growth. We need to outgrow some things. We need to outgrow some things. There may be things that we have not outgrown. We need to outgrow them, just like you outgrow your clothes. You outgrow some things. Some criticisms never move you anymore. I remember one man in our community, he would go on TV and insult me, call me by names, say all manners of things about me. He was expecting me to be unhappy. You know what I did? I paid for 6 months of his television program. I sent a check to him. I said to my elders, I said, keep up the good works. Keep up the good works. But remember that upon whose head a coconut is cracked, they never live to eat out of it. Keep up the good works. I have outgrown it. The next Sunday he came on TV again. He said, I can't be bought. Oh, nobody can pay for me. I will speak the truth. And he started singing an old fella song. Timbaro Tomaso, oh, Libano. And he kept singing it. Kept singing it. You know what I do when I saw that? I sent him another check for the remaining 6 months because I've outgrown such things. A week later, he came to my house. He said, I'm sorry. It's not me that is speaking. It's the people who are praying for the television program. They told me that I should talk about you, and I'm talking about you. He who plays the piper dictates the tune. But I have outgrown such a thing. You outgrow such a thing. Be not overcome with evil. Overcome evil with good. So as a church, there are some things probably we need to overgrow. I don't know what area or what front. And then number 6, where we need to grow onwardly. We need to grow steadily. I'm aware that next year will be 20 years of supernatural ministry. 20 years of exploits in this area. You know what? We are not going to stop after 20 years. We keep growing like a vine. We keep growing. The older we get, the more the fruit we produce. As the palm tree grows older, as the vine grows older, it brings forth more fruit. And that's why we are compared to palm tree and cedar. Psalm 92 verse 12, the righteous shall flourish like the palm tree and grow like a cedar in Lebanon. But in all of these things, in all of these growth dimensions, you have a duty. Thank God you've enjoyed us for the past 19 years. You've come here giving back to children. You've gone here and passed your exams. You've come here and been promoted. You've come here and built your own house through the teaching of God's word from this sacred pulpit. But I want to remind you, like one American president once said, do not begin to talk about what House of the Rock can do for you. In the next 1 year, begin to talk about what you can do for House on the Rock. More than ever before, we need you now on board. More than ever before, we need you to fulfill our dreams and our aspirations and become the church that God, from the very beginning, desired for us to be. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to give you some reasons, about 7 reasons why this church must grow. It has grown, but there is no end to growth. There is no place you get to and say, I can't go further anymore. It has grown. Yes, it can get better. The Bible talks about glory to glory. That's why we're talking about greater glory. The Bible talks about going from strength to strength. That's why the Bible talks about going from faith to faith. That's why the Bible talks about Proverbs 4:18. The path of the righteous is like a shining light, shining more and more unto the perfect day. Why should a church, why must a church grow? Why should this church grow? I'm going to give you some reasons. Number 1, because God's word commands that his church should grow. He commands it. In the book of Matthew 28, verse 19 and 20, Jesus specified 3 things that the church should do. It says, 1, make disciples. Number 2, mark disciples. Number 3, mature disciples. So the growth of the church is a divine command. Proverbs 13:13. He that despises the word of God shall be destroyed. He that hearkens to the commandment shall be rewarded. So it's a command that our church should grow. And that's number 1 reason why we must grow. We must grow on those 6 dimensions. Because an order is an order in God's word. Psalm 119 verse 131. Psalm 133 says, order my steps in your word. Let no iniquity have dominion over us. God told the children of Israel in Exodus 14:15, he said, go forward. Go forward. Don't stay where you are. Increase. The word grow means to improve. This church must improve. It's a divine commandment. This church must enlarge. It's a divine commandment. The God we serve is a God of enlargement, a conquering God, a God who plunder hell to populate heaven. The first reason why we should grow is because God's word commanded. Number 2 reason why we should grow is because of the need of the people that only this church can provide. People there out need life. You can't get life from sports. You can't get life from other ventures. So we deal in a product that they need. If we deal in a product that the people out there need, then that's the basis for growth. Because of the need of the people. That's the second reason why any church and every church must grow. The need is there. The need is there every time. All over the places you see that the need of the people is the reason for the church. So, the second reason why the church should grow is because of the need of the people. That only the church can meet. We can meet the need of the church, the people. That's why we are here. And for as long as we are authorized dealers in what the people need, which is life, I believe we can grow and we should grow. Number three reason why a church must grow is because Jesus wants his church to grow. And he has decided to assist us to get it done. Matthew 16:18. He said, I will build. That word build here in the Greek is the word develop, nurture, support, assist. See, I will build my church. And the gates of hell will not prevail. That's the third reason. God says, go ahead, I will support you. I'm here to stand with you. I'm here to help you make it become what I imagine it to be. I'm here to be there for you, to help you with what you can do, to help you with what you cannot achieve. Every church should grow. Why? Because he wants it. And he is there to help us. He is there to help us achieve it. We are not alone. John 15:5. Without me, you can do nothing. Philippians 4:13. I can do all things through Christ that strengthens me. That's the third reason why the church should grow. We are co-laborers together with him. 1 Corinthians 3:9. 2 Corinthians 6:1. We are workers together with him. Jesus said in John 5:17, my Father worketh hitherto, and I walk. And Jesus said, I will build my church. I will help you. I will be there to support you. And the gates of hell cannot prevail against the church. The fourth reason why a church must grow is because of the nature of the church. The nature of the church implies growth. The church is not a business. The church is not an organization. The church is a body. And body grows. If you look at your body, it has grown. When you are born, you are probably the size of a tube of yam. But look at you today, gigantic, enormous, and colossal. How did you get there? By growth. So the nature of the church itself depicts that it has to grow. Body means living organism. The nature of the church implies growth. It's not a business. It's not an organization. It's not a building. The church is not the building. We are the church. You and I are the church. When we come here and we inhabit this place, the presence of God is visible here. So the church must grow because even the nature of the church implies growth. It's body of Christ. Body grows. When you give birth to that baby has grown. But ladies and gentlemen, what is your part in making it happen? The church must grow. The church can grow. The church can grow faster. The church can grow yet much more. On all those 6 areas. But it's not just about taking from the church. It's about giving to the church. It's about giving back. In the 20th anniversary of this church, it's time for you to give back. You may not belong to the generation of people that started it, but your generation is the Omega generation. You are the one that is seeing the last days and the things that God is doing this hour. And you have duties just like you have privileges. Number 5 reason why the church should grow. In the New Testament, the New Testament church grew. In Acts 1:15, the New Testament church was 120 people. In Acts 2:41, the New Testament church was 3,120 people. In Acts 4:4, the New Testament church had increased by 5,000 people. So there were 8,120, at least when you count men. In Acts 5:14, figures, they stopped mentioning figures, they were mentioning thousands. I did a research some years ago. By the time the church of God was referred to in Acts 21. The church of God was 100,000. Jerusalem was 200,000. So the church of God was half of the size of Jerusalem. The pattern is there that you and I should follow. The footprints are there. The New Testament church is a growing church. The New Testament church is an advancing church. It's a conquering church. It's an enlarging church. It's an expanding church. It's a church that is getting bigger and better. That is the New Testament church. That is the pattern you and I have received. And that is what you and I must remember. Why must our church grow? The New Testament demonstrates numerical quality effect performing of the New Testament church as it grew. The church grew. The church grew. The New Testament church was a growing church, not a stunted church, not a limited church. By the time that Paul handed the church of Ephesus to Timothy, there were 14,000 people. Mega churches have been the history of the church. Mega churches. Mega church is not a recent concept. The early church showed the pattern along with the New Testament church should grow. Ladies and gentlemen, number 6 reason why a church must grow is because opportunities for growth abound today more than it has ever been. Today, with the invasion of sin, with the problem of the various challenges all over the places, it has become necessary for people to give their life to Christ. I was one of those people who would never have been born again if not because of the pressures of life. Look around you. The almighty dollar is not dependable. Things that they told us will not be shaken are being shaken. The powers of the heaven are being shaken. Luke 21:26 says, men's hearts shall fail them for fear, for looking upon those things that are coming to pass in the world, because the powers of the heaven shall be shaken. The opportunities for people to get saved now is more than ever before. These are perilous times. And people are coming to Christ. When I see some people becoming born again now, I said, wow. 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 Why? Opportunity for salvation is becoming very commonplace. Because what used to work before never worked. Disease is rampant. The source and explanation of which you cannot explain. God is the only antidote for what is happening in the world now. That's why opportunities to be saved. I was speaking to a man, highly placed man, a few days ago. He was sick, bedridden. This is a man in his days who would never listen to the gospel, not talk about praying to accept Christ. I looked at him and said, will you not get born again? He said, yes. Why not? When death stared them in the face. When things that worked before no longer work. Number 7 reason why a church must grow. Listen to this. We can grow, and we must grow because we have the most vital key to church growth. What is the vital key? You. You are the most vital key to the growth. This church have come this far because of the people that are in it. For us to take advantage of the next level, there must be a set of change of attitude. We need new people. We need more people. We need a change of heart. We need a change of attitude. We need a change of direction. Let me ask you a question. If every member of this church were like you, what kind of a church will we have? If every member of this church come late the way you come late pathologically, if every member of this church does not pay tithe and does not give offering the way you do, what kind of a church will we have? If every member of this church is an onlooker instead of a participant, what kind of a church shall we be? Shall we have? My challenge to you is, you need to help us grow. The greatest fact of church growth is not the billboard. It's not the television ministry. It's not the name, prefixes in front of our name. It's the quality of the people. the quality of the people that we have. Of what quality are you made up of? Always giving excuses. If every church member is like you, what kind of a church will we have? I want to share with you very quickly, in the remaining minutes that I have, how you can help this church grow. Stop being selfish. How can I help this church grow? I will give you quite a number. I will explain as many as I can explain. And I know that you too will be able to come up with enough reason to change your attitudinal configuration and become a better person. A church is a reflection of the people it has. A church is a reflection of the worker it has. A church is a reflection of the attitude that are in that church as at now. How can I help my church grow? Number one way to help the church grow is by you growing. By you growing. This church is an aggregate of every one of us. If you don't grow, you are putting the brakes on the growth of the church. If you grow financially, you help this church to grow. If you grow relationally, you help this church to grow. If you grow spiritually, you remove some problems from the shoulder of the pastor. How can I help this church grow? By growing yourself. I don't like church members who have refused to grow. The feeding battle we gave to you 5 years ago, you have refused to return it. And we have not had new ones to give to those who are just getting saved. How can I help this church grow? Grow too. If you grow financially, if you grow in your career, you will bring in more money. We can finance the gospel faster and better than we have been able to do. Number one way to help this church grow, for you to grow. Number two way, for you to grow, help this church grow, is by praying for this church. It's something every one of us can do. You don't need special skills to pray for this church. You can do it alone, you can do it in groups. You pray for yourself because you want to grow your business. Why do you think you shouldn't pray for this church? You should pray for us. Paul said in 1 Corinthians 5:24, faithful is he who has called us, who also will do it. Verse 25, he said, brethren, pray for us. Hebrews 13:18, he said, we have a desire to live honestly. He said, but brethren, pray with us. Pray for us. Are you praying enough for this church? You need to pray for this church, for its leadership, for its members, for its program, for every aspect of this church life. Pray for wisdom for our leaders to lead us aright. Pray for wisdom for the pastor's wife and all other pastor's wife and other minister's wife to make the home comfortable for their husband so that they can be effective and perform on the job. Pray for our children that are coming up. Pray that the unction of God will be in our services before you come here to tap. You can never tap out of the service what you don't invest in the service. Galatians 6:7. Be not deceived, God is not mocked. Whatsoever a man soweth, that shall he reap. Praying is not something you have to do in coming to church. Just 2-3 minutes of your day, spend it in prayer to God for the church of God. Don't just come to pray in the church. Don't just pray for your own desires. Pray for the desires of the church. Pray for our programs and our events, our activities. Pray for the next 1 year that this church will have favor in the eyes of man and of God. The early church, the Bible says, had favor with all the people. Acts 2:47. Whenever I read that scripture, I feel goosebumps. To have favor with all the people, and you are a church. That must be special. The effectual fervent prayer of the righteous man availeth much. Ladies and gentlemen, you can help us grow by growing and by praying for us. Number 3 way you can help this church grow is that you can help us grow by helping others inside this church to grow. Don't just grow alone. If you see people that can grow, that should grow, that must grow, help them grow. Help them grow in knowing Christ. Help them know in loving Christ. Help them grow in life in the Spirit. Help them grow in those areas. Then help them also grow in their career. Let senior doctors help the junior doctors to grow. Let senior nurses help the junior nurses to grow. Let senior businessmen help the junior businessmen to grow. Let me tell you a secret today. There is a Redeemed Christian Church of God in Maryland, pastored by a man known as Pastor Gandhi Olaoye. He's someone you know. I was there in that church when there were just about 50 of them in 1997. But there was something the people in IT in that church did in 1997 that brought explosive growth. It was in the days of Oracle 8 and 7. The 4 or 5 of them that were already vast in that software came together and organized classes that were going to be free for members of the church who wanted to do IT. They not only made it free to church members, but even people from outside the church who wanted to be part of it, we are allowed to come in, and only condition is you become a member of Jesus' house. Of course, in those days, immigrants were just coming into the country. And they came and became members of the class. And almost 85% of those who took the classes passed the exam at first attempt, got good jobs, and stayed in the church, and more income. Till today, that landmark that group of people set is still in that church. You still see many people who are in IT, who are a product of that time. It is one of the greatest tools that grew that church, helping other people to grow. What you know, let some people know it. What you have, give it to others. Put your wisdom at their disposal. Help them by supporting them as they start making baby steps in their career, in their marriage, in their lives generally. And I've seen churches reproduce it. I've seen churches reproduce it. In our small learning, we did a lot in that area. We got some money, put it together, and put it in a revolving loan scheme. I contributed a lot to that. Other members of the church who have already made it contributed. And we set up a kind of panel. If you have good ideas but don't have money, come and take loan from that place without interest. It's very common among the Jews. Today we have over 250 millionaires in that church. They were made through that scheme. So when we say money, they rush out because they know where they were when they came to the church. We help them grow, and they have helped grow the church. They employ church members. I can say boldly, 55% of our church members who are employed by these businesses. And so it's a good thing when you help others grow. In that way, you help the church grow. When you do good to all men, especially those of the household of faith. When you help others to grow in the house. Number 4, how can I help this church to grow? You can help this church to grow by ensuring that the house is full. I know we have 2 services, but I've been to churches that have 10 services, 6 services, 8 services. This is because every member took it upon themselves to do 2 things. Number 1, to win souls. Proverbs 11:30, he that winneth soul is wise. God wants his house full. You remember the parable in Luke 14? The Bible says those people came, and Jesus, the house of the master says, go and bring people from the highway and the edges. Bring them in. He said, compel them to come, that the house may be full. God wants a full house. I was in a church in a city known as Mombasa in Kenya. There are services from 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. every Sunday. 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. Every 2 hours, the entire people in the tent will empty. A new set of choir will come in, and then there will be a new service. And they continue from 6 a.m. like that every 2 hours. Every 2 hours till 9 p.m. I want to ask the pastor, I say, what is the greatest secret? He said, my people. People, faithful people. He said, my people. He said, my people are not satisfied with growth. They're always doing more and much more. They're always going out and bringing in people. He said, the last time I can remember was when we were about 5 services. He said, I don't understand what is happening anymore. So he said, there is so much energy for growth. How can we help this church grow? By ensuring the house is filled. God wants a full house. God is a God of crowd. When Jesus came, he had crowd. Matthew 14:14, the multitude. Matthew 15:32, the multitude. Matthew 20:29, the multitude. Matthew 19:2, the multitude. Matthew 21:9, the multitude. The Bible says in Mark 1:45, and they came unto Jesus from every quarter. I read the story of John Calvin. John Calvin was a man who lived somewhere in Europe. I think I can't remember the city quite quickly, but it was a German city. And this man made up his mind that 5 miles on this side of the road, every house we have a born-again Christian. 5 miles on the other side of the road, every house will have a Christian. And he set out to do it. And by the time he died, there was no single house 5 miles this way, 5 miles that way, in the area where he lived, that was not a Christian in every house. Take up a challenge. Not just winning souls, inviting people to church. Almost 86% of church members were invited. If you remember how you got saved by being invited to that place. The pastor cannot have the reach to be in touch with so many people, as many as you are. As many as you are in touch with. We did a study some years ago with Bill Bright, Campus Crusade for Christ. And we discovered that every Christian meet at least every week 75 people who are not saved. If you cannot win them there, invite them to church. I was glad when they said to me, let us go to the house of the Lord. Why was he glad? In the presence of the Lord is fullness of joy, and at his right hand, pleasures forevermore. Stop coming to church alone. Psalm 55 verse 14. He said, we took sweet counsels together. We walked to the house of the Lord in company. In company. Don't just come with your own family. Untold millions are still untold. Multitude and multitude are in the valley of decision. And the day of the Lord draw near in the valley of decision. Church members, invite people. 86% of church members were invited. I was invited. How many of you were born again in the place you were invited to? Let me see your hand. Okay. Substantial number. Do for others what have been done for you. If you go out and taste a restaurant and you see how beautiful the food is, what do? You tell others. That is the good news. Somebody needs to hear what you had that changed your life. We don't need to be selfish about this. Psalm 34 verse 8, oh, taste and see that the Lord is good. After you've tasted, you've seen God is good, what are you doing with it? If you can find a cure for cancer, will you hide it? You will share it. But sin is worse than cancer. Sin does not only destroy one person, it destroys generation. It destroys people. Invite people to church. Set a goal to invite someone. There is a member of our church back in Ilani. Every Sunday, he invites nothing less than 10 people. 10. For as long as I remember that man, till last week, he brought 10 people to church. From every Monday, he begins to plan. He begins to plan. Oh, that is Nigeria. You'll be judged by the same God. You'll be judged by the same God. The size of the land of Texas is bigger than Nigeria's land. So don't begin to tell me that. There are people who are still doing the right thing. Don't justify yourself in doing the wrong thing. Let me give you some reasons why people don't invite people to church. Number one, you are too inward looking, not outward looking. God wants you to look at the harvest field. Don't talk about those people that have been won. Focus on those people that have not been won. The harvest field of the earth is brown with souls that may descend into a lost eternity anytime from now. We are too inward looking. Always concerned about those who are in the church. Well, we need to be concerned about those who are in the church. But I'm telling you that God had burden. It's about those who are without. He said there are other sheep who are not yet of this fold. I want them to come in. The second reason why people don't invite people to church, they don't see it as what they need to do. Let me tell you, whether you're a keyboardist or a guitarist or a drummer, your first duty is souls, not to play keyboard. If there are no souls, who do you play keyboard to? Someone say, I'm an usher. Who will you usher if people don't come to church? I'm a follow-up and visitation. If people don't come to church, who are you first doing? I'm visiting. The first duty of any worker is souls. Souls and souls. But we do not see it as what we need to do. It is your number one responsibility. The greatest crown in heaven is reserved for the soul winner. Do you know how grateful somebody will be to you that you brought them to the church where they met Christ? I know how eternally grateful I am to the man who invited me and where I met Christ. The third reason why people do not invite others to church is because they think they won't come. Listen, you invite them, leave the coming to God. Proverbs 21:1. Invite them. Let God ensure the difference of their coming. Proverbs 21:1. The heart of kings are in the hand of the Lord, and he will turn it the way he listed, like the course of a river. You don't bother about it. Do your part. Let Omega do his own part. Without you doing your part, Omega will not do his own part. Many people are going to meet you later in life, and they will tell you, you did me a lot of wrong by not telling me earlier that being in Christ is this sweet. I have so many regrets in life. The greatest of the regret was that I did not get born again in the days of my youth. I got born again at the age of 23. But when I see 10-year-old, 12-year-old preaching, I'm talking about Jesus, I'm full of envy. Because I wish I had given my life to Christ then. Well, it's never late than never, but I wish it were earlier. The fourth reason why people don't invite people to church is that you are not enthusiastic about your church alone. Some people are not enthusiastic about your church. But your birthday, you know how you pursue people? You know how you pursue people? To come for a dinner that they don't need. To attend a ceremony where they will not be happy. You know what you do? You know how many reminders? You know how many reminders? I remember that Christian brother that I know. When he was celebrating his 50th birthday, he pursued me with reminders. So I asked him, why did you not pursue me like this when I was not a Christian and you are a Christian? Why did you not pursue me like this? He said, I just wanted to come and celebrate with me. I said, do you know the celebrations that go up in heaven when someone gets saved? When someone is raised from the dead, there's no celebration in heaven. But according to Luke 15:7, there is joy in heaven over one soul. When people got saved in Samaria, Acts 8:8, he said there was joy in the city. Ladies and gentlemen, you are not enthusiastic about your church enough. You are not proud of your church. Do you see how proud some people are with the wrong thing? Oh, I remember when I was in Kagait's club. Kagait. All over the place. Because of palm wine. I wear the Kagait regalia. And I will carry the calabash. And I will carry, the gourd. I will tie it around my neck. And I'll be going around in the town. So proud. You're proud to be a doctor. You carry your stethoscope. You can't carry the word of God to the people. You're proud of being a nurse. You don't have a problem wearing your nurse regalia into church. But you forget about wearing the robe of righteousness to the sinners where they are. Untold millions are still untold. Whenever anybody dies, the question I ask is, were they saved? Did they make it? But we are not enthusiastic enough. Two more reasons why we don't invite people to church is that another reason is because we think some other people will do it. The work of everybody is the work of nobody. Oh, your wife is pregnant. She's supposed to be taken to the hospital. Well, somebody else will do it. Somebody else will help me out. Your children are in school. Closing time is 3 o'clock. Oh no, somebody else. I know some other parents who go there. Somebody else will bring them home. You know how dangerous that is? Do you know how dangerous neglect is? Do you know how dangerous when you overlook your duties and responsibilities to ensure that you help your church to grow? That is the little you can contribute. You can't preach, you can't play keyboard. You have no muscle to be gate man. You have nothing. But you have a mouth. As weak, as small as you are, you can use it. I was glad when they said to me, let us go. How was he glad? He knew he was going to get something that he would never get any other way. We are not enthusiastic about it. We think somebody else will do it. And then the sixth reason why we don't invite people to church is because we don't set goals for it. Do you know when you set a goal for something that is important to you, you will always do it? You set a goal to wake up in the morning. But you don't set goals for someone to wake up in hell. When you don't set goals to invite someone to church, you are saying, I have no goal for anyone who wants to go to hell. Was that how you were treated? Did somebody never made you his target? And that is why you got saved? Ladies and gentlemen, God wants the house full. And we are trying. We're not talking about trying. We are talking about conforming to the image that God has in his heart for who we are. How can I help my church grow? God wants his house full. I can help others to grow. I can pray. How can I help my church to grow? Listen to this, very simple. By being a good example in the church and by being a good ambassador of the church where you live and where you walk. Be a good example in the church. Human beings have been known to follow role models. Be an example of a good family, an example of a praying Christian, an example of an obedient person, an example of someone who comes early in church. The Bible said the greatest achievement anybody can achieve is to be a good example. 1 Timothy 4:12, let no man despise your youth, but be thou an example of the Christian. Other members who have not grown up to your level are watching you. They see you more than hear you. That's how you can help your church grow. Be a good example of a deacon and don't become a deacon. Don't be someone who serves with eye service, but when the pastor is not there, you are nowhere to be found. Be a good example of the church, of a Christian. Become an ambassador within the church of what the church stands for, and outside where you are, become an ambassador. Some people will see your good works and follow you to your God. Do you know what? Our life is the greatest expression of who we are. Our witness is not just by our mouth, but our lifestyle. Be an example of the Christian in the church. Jesus said in John 13:15, he said, I have given you an example. As I have done, even so do ye. 1 John 2:6, if you say you abide in him, so even ought we to walk as he walked. 1 Corinthians 2:16, who has said the mind of God to be his counselor. We have the mind of Christ. Be an example of what a church member should be. Be an example of what a house on the rock member should be to the people that are coming up. When you set the examples, they will follow. Whatever you do for good or bad. You see, one thing I discovered is that in some churches, people who are supposed to be in the church are outside in the foyer talking. If you do it, you cannot ask anybody who does it not to do it. And it's so in most churches. Instead of sitting down here, you know everything already. You're out there in the foyer, being a bad example. Take heed, lest this liberty of yours become a stumbling block to others. Some people think it is right because you do it. You're an elder, you're a leader, and you do it. And because you do it, they think it's right. Not knowing it's wrong. Come into the church and sit here. You are not here to discuss with someone. This is not a meeting point. This is a place of worship. This is a place where God works on us. And it's very common in most churches. And I don't know why. At times, I want to go to the toilet. I go out there. I meet 15 people. What are you doing there? Leaders of the church. It aches me. I feel betrayed when a leader does that. That's not a good example. You're not helping us to build discipline. There are some churches you go. When you leave, you stand, you go out through that door, they give you a yellow card, the first one. Within a single service. If you stand and go through that door the second time, they give you a red card. You can't come in back. Don't disrupt the service. Your movement is distracting. How can I help this church go? Be a good example. Within the church and where you live. I remember one of our members, a woman. The husband came to me one day and said, excuse me, sir. He came with one of those. Excuse me, sir. I said, yes. He said, is my wife Christian? His husband. I said, why? She's a Christian. She's even a deacon. The man looked at me and laughed. I said, what's happening? He said, my house is just behind your church here. He said, I watch you on TV, your TV programs. I go on YouTube and watch your presentations. He said, I am amazed that my wife can hear this and behave the way she does at home. He said, my wife is a deacon. He said, my wife is a Christian, and you call her a deacon. He said, she's not a deacon. She's a deacon. He says, there's the example of the Christian I don't want to be like. So I'm a Christian too. But our Christianity is such that even the family dog, when the family dog hears the voice of my wife, he barks hysterically. So my wife is a terrorist. No fruit of the spirit at all. Her behavior and conduct is unbecoming of a Christian, not talking about a church officer. How are you helping us to build? How can I help? How can I help my church to grow? Not with the current conduct. Coming to church only once a week. Is that the only time the church is open? Surely goodness and mercy will follow me all the days of my life, and I will do well. The church of God is not a visiting site. It's a place of living. Your lifestyle does not show you depend on God. Your lifestyle does not show the standard of what a member of a church should be like. I want to challenge you. And out there, where the sinners are, let them so see your good works and glorify your Father who is in heaven. Let them see your conduct and follow you to your God. How can I help my church grow? Be a good example within the church and a better ambassador outside the church. Isaiah 43, verse 21. He said, these people have formed for myself, they will show forth my praise. When you carry yourself in a dignified, scriptural way outside the church, people will ask you, what church do you go? So I go to House on the Rock. They say, can I come with you? Because they like what they see. But if they say, what church do you go to? I say, in that church, can I be accepted just as I am? Because they feel they're even better than you. Ladies and gentlemen, help us. We need a better church than what we have. We can be better. We can be fuller. We can be more accomplished. We can look more like the church of God's dream. We can reflect that glory that God had in mind when He called us out. Don't be satisfied with where you are. Let me give you one or two more here. How can I help my church to grow? Listen to these. By making sure there is meat in the house. I want you to understand this fact that the church needs a lot of money. We need a lot of money in the church. I lead a church and I have a traveling ministry. I was telling some people in our church in Ilorin, we spend 500,000 naira every week on diesel. Not on that, just diesel. To power our services. That is how much we spend. The price of everything have changed. Your own tithe have remained 10%. If you want to rent a house years ago, you pay more now. Why have you never seen the need to give more? Unto whom much is given, much is expected. When your income was 60,000, you get the same tithe, 10%, as when your income is of 120,000. You're not being faithful with what God has blessed you with. I was telling some people recently, I said, it is a moral thing for you and I to change our tithe. You see, 10% is minimum, not maximum. Why do you want to score 40% in an exam if you can score 80? Why do we go for the minimum all the time? Honor the Lord with your substance. Nobody told me this. When my income was particularly when there was an increase, I said to myself, I know 10% of the increase is still 10%. Why don't I increase it to 12.5? And I've increased it and increased it and increased it till this time. This year, my tithe is 50% of my income. I was telling some people recently, what God has blessed me from January to March is more than what He blessed me with in the last 5 years. Why? Because I'm a good steward of the grace of God. Raise that tithe level. God has been good to you. He's been more than good to you. If God has been good to you, show gratitude. If God has been more than good, show compassion. Nobody told me. I moved it from 10 to 15. Some people are still arguing about 10. What are you talking about? I can't understand. If it's not working, why will I increase it? In our church, I say it boldly. We have 90% of our members pay tithe. Because I always tell them, if you don't pay tithe, things will be tight for you. If you make the church uncomfortable financially, it is just for God to make you uncomfortable too. 90% of our members pay tithe. And of the 90%, close to 60% pay more than 10%. Set the example in your family. Set the example to your friend. Do so much. You never lose what you give God. It is what you hold that you lose. There is He that scattereth and yet increaseth. The more I have given, the more I've had to give. And the more I've had to give, the more God has blessed me. He says, surely goodness and mercy will follow you, follow you, follow you all the days of your life. And you shall dwell in the house of the Lord forever. Your minimum offering level should change from $20 to $30. Yearly, as you're making progress. Proverbs 4:18. The path of the righteous is like a shining light, shining more and more unto the perfect day. Make it easier for us. Don't just give tithe and offering. All offerings have their various significance. Don't say I've given worship offering. You will not give thanksgiving offering. You will not give peace offering. You will not give to missions. You will not give to poor people. You will not give to widows. You will not give to outreaches. All of these offerings have their various percentage of return. Give to him that asketh you. And to him that come to borrow from you, don't turn away. He that giveth to the poor, lendeth to the Lord. Imagine you lending to God. I love it. He said, what you lend to God, there will be no interest on it. Proverbs 19:17. He that giveth to the poor, lendeth to the Lord, and that which he has given shall be given back. No increase on that one. God does not multiply what you give to the poor. But the poor shall not cease in the land. And you know why God gives you more than what you need? Because of the poor. Deuteronomy 15. We need money to do God's work. Look at the church as a ground of investment. I give at times as an investment in the soil of the gospel. Investment giving is different from worship offering giving. 1 Chronicles 16:29. He said, give unto God the glory that is due unto his name. He said, bring an offering and come into his presence. He said, worship the Lord in the beauty of holiness. Many of us don't worship in the beauty of holiness because what you are given is little compared to what you have capacity to give. When you don't give God according to your capacity, how do you expect God to give you according to his own capacity, his riches and glory? One day I saw one of our ministers whose income level I know, who are taking offering. He dropped 1,000. After the service, I said, come here. Come here. Do you want God? I said, make your giving, let your giving reflect your income, or your income will become like your giving. If God makes your income like your giving, will you survive? I'm just encouraging you. I'm letting you know there needs to be meat in the house. Meat means money. Oh, the gospel is free. The wheels upon which the gospel rolls needs lubricant. And what we use the money to do is to buy the lubricant. Oh, the wheel is a wheel of free, but the lubricant is not free. You pray for the lubricant. You pray for the light. You pray for the air. You pray for the... By the grace of God, I know this is beautiful, isn't it? This is beautiful, isn't it? But what I'm saying is, there are more ways we can beautify God's house. Be imaginative. The TV screen you are watching is the latest one. Is it QUH TV or something now? Whether it's Q or COV or something, I don't know. You go for the best. You change your car to the most superior cars that talk. One man was carrying me a few days ago. The car was saying, this car is backing up. I said, and when I go to their church, it was a small, you know that little thing that, whose bulb, when it bulbs, it begins to show all kind of. I told him, I said, it's an insult to you. That the house of God is decorated with this small thing. His house, come and see his TV. It was like I was in the cinema house. How many of you know what I'm talking about? Hi-fi. I say, it's like we're in heaven. The TV is like you're inside it. I told him, I said, it's a disgrace to you that your church is still using that kind of decoder. It's a disgrace. I went and looked at it online, $256. I said, it's a disgrace to you. I said, if it's not a disgrace to you, it's a disgrace to me on your behalf. The house of God must be beautified. Recently, I was counting Solomon's temple, how much they used to decorate it. I discovered it cost them $6 billion. The decoration of Solomon's temple alone. Look at how beautiful your own house is. Everything is mini. I entered into one man's toilet. I almost removed the place. You know that place where they hang toilet tissue? It's gold. I almost took it and put it in my pocket. So I asked him, I said, how much did you use to beautify this house? He said, I was looking at him. I like good things. I said, but in your church, I didn't see gold in the toilet. I saw the floor was full of water. God told Israel, hey guys, 1:4. He said, because you neglect my house, you make money and bring it in, and I blow on it. Do you know why you have some of those challenges? You are not faithful to God. God knows. The eyes of the Lord run to and fro the earth. He knows how much you can give. Look at what you are giving. There must be meat in God's house. Many people join the early church, not because they like to worship God, but because of meat, free food. They follow Jesus. Jesus said, you know why you are following me? It's not miracles. But the 5 loaves and the 2 fishes when you saw apple. You know, food is a trap anywhere. No matter what North Korea says today, America is the one feeding them. So when he's getting angry, he remembers that a mad dog has a rope around his neck. Are you listening to what I'm saying now? Look at your neighbor and say, help us to grow. Our financial record must be ever increasing. It breaks my heart when the church struggles to do what they can do with ease, with the quality of people that they have. You are our greatest investment. You are our greatest assets. Don't be our greatest liability. You know what God does? When He says God provide, He's already provided in those people that have given you. But the people's hand are already inside their pocket instead of bringing it out. Bring that hand out. Let the Lord use you to instill something special into the church of God. And time and eternity will remember you for good. Have I helped anybody tonight? Let's rise on our feet and bless God. Father, we want to thank you. We want to appreciate you. Come and lift up your hands and bless God. And tell Him to use you. Just use me, oh God. Use me for your glory. Use me for your praise. Use me, oh God. Help me. I want to be of use. I can hear you pray. Pray to God to help you. You have done much, but you can do much more. This is the beginning of the best days of your life. You can make things happen. Let the Lord open over your life. Let the Lord open the heavens over your life. Can I hear you pray, please? Can you pray? Can you mix these words with prayer? Can you pray based on these points? Can you pray enthusiastically? Can you pray joyfully? Can you pray gladly? Can you pray and ask God to help you? Can you pray and ask God to increase you? Can you pray and ask God to help you? Call, Lord. Increase me tonight. Increase me tonight. I will sing of the mercy of the Lord forever. With my mouth will I make known the faithfulness to all generations. Do something different. Do something different tonight. Don't go back home the same way you came. Don't go back home the same way you came. Thank you, oh God. Thank you, Lord. In Jesus' name, I want you to look at me here. This is an appeal. Many of you can afford more than what you are giving to this church. With what God have done for you, what you are giving to this church is an injustice before God and before man. When people in the church do not do according to the ability they have, the church looks like a poor church. But the church of God is not poor. There was enough people among the children of Israel to the point that when they went to the wilderness and they needed to build tabernacle of congregation, the Bible says in Exodus 36:5, they kept giving until they begged them to stop. When will that be repeated in the church? This church has a plan to move from this place to a bigger and a better place. Do you know you can assign yourself a percentage of what's going to cost the church to make that move? What is your commitment every year? Can't you raise your tithe and that of your business from 10 to 20? I went to Pastor Shalaludo's church in London. I was encouraged to tell people to come out to give from 20% upward. Over 200 people responded. That put a lot of cushion in the work of the ministry. Ministry should not be as difficult as it is if you have good leadership, like the kind of pastor you have, who has a heart for you. He was busy running down to this place. Let us also show a kind of response that God has been waiting for. A conference like this should be paid for without putting a hand into the offering. It's a Thanksgiving program. The hotels, there are people who say, I take a day each. We take a day. Your family takes one, take one, take one, take one. It's paid for. Every other expenses. We do this in Ilorin. You see students stepping out, putting their entire Monday allowance on the line. And they have never lacked. He said, I'm the Lord that brought you out of Egypt. Open your mouth, I'll fill it. You can do more than what you are doing. I want you to, in your own heart, before God, make a decision. I'm going to contribute to such a way that there will be meat. When I came here anniversary the first day, no soft drinks, no sandwich. We say anniversary day, 19th, not 9th. Second day, nothing. May God deliver you on Sunday if there is nothing. I'm telling you. There are some of you that I know you will not leave this place. I won't allow you to leave. This is what we should do to beautify the house of God. This 19th year. Let us show we are grateful and we are glad. It's time of thanksgiving. The next thing we are going to do is give an offering. Thanksgiving offering. Oh God, our help in ages past. I hope your thanksgiving tonight should thank Him for what He has done. what he's doing now and what he's going to do in the days ahead. I don't expect you to give less than anybody giving minimum offering $100. If you're going to go home and die, go home and die. You know, I don't mean that you should die literally. But there are some people, it's like your life depends on it. So make sure tonight, if you have the ability to give it, don't hold it back. Make sure you put it there on the plate. If you can give 1,000, give 1,000. 500, give 5,000. 250, give it 250. But make sure it's according to every man's ability. And God knows your ability. Put an offering of thanksgiving in the hand of your son, that little boy. Let him be grateful. He would have died when he was born, but God preserved him. Put an offering in the hand of that little girl. She is a princess of that family. Let her come and be grateful. When it comes to thanksgiving, let us know that we are doing the right thing. He said it's a good thing to give thanks. Thanks is not thanks until there is a giving. Thanksgiving. And so tonight, when it is, now we are going to give our thanksgiving offering. As the choir is dancing, don't dance $100 dance and give $20 offering. Reverse it. Give $100 and dance $20 dance. We are okay with it. But make sure you don't do less than what you are capable of. Tap your neighbor and say, how are you there? Say, are you ready? I am ready. I am ready. And I'm going to bless the Lord. And I'm going to give to God. If you made up your mind not to take an envelope before, take it down. And send it in. Even if you don't have it, pledge and bring it in on Sunday. But let us do something dynamic. Let us do something that is deeply appreciative. My senior brother's wife, a good woman, went to bed on the 29th of January. She did not wake up the next day. This woman is the chief nursing officer, was the chief nursing officer of UCH before she retired. My brother is a cardiothoracic, internationally reputed surgeon. When his wife died, there was nothing he could do. Ladies and gentlemen, give it while you can have it, while you have it.